let's go ahead and get started. So first off, thanks for coming. Welcome to the School AI. I've been excited to do this introduction for a while as we were waiting for some licenses and other things to get started before we really kind of dove into this. But that being said, let's go ahead and we'll begin. Okay, so our objectives today is really just to introduce School AI to you and give you a taste of some of the things that it can do and start generating ideas about how you can use it in your classroom. One of the things with School AI, it's not like a Cami or a Canvas or these things where they have all these different limits and this is specifically what it does and that's a tool. There's so many things that it can do that it's more of being limited by your creativity in trying to use it. And so it's really going to be hopefully a thing that kind of just generates ideas in your head and gives you an idea of how to try to be creative with this and to do all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what we've got going on. So what is School AI? If you've been out of the loop, it's our district supported tool for AI use in the district. And really most of the tools that are created for this are to help you save time as a teacher. And so that's kind of the main focus behind the tool itself. And this is why it was approved, was to help teachers save time doing a bunch of things they can do. And obviously to help student learning too. We want to be more efficient with that and it's useful for that. And the other question is, when can you use it? Well, you can use it now. You've been able to use it. All the premium accounts are set up and it's free for you to use. Students are able to use it. Teachers are able to use it. And we'll kind of show you the different ways that you can use it as we move forward. As we get started, though, I just wanted to preface all this with a couple of pedagogical thoughts. And there was an article from the Daily Princetonian which talked a lot about like AI use in classrooms and stuff. But a quote that I liked from this, and I think it's worth thinking about, is if students are being assigned essays that can be written by ChatGPT, perhaps it's not a good assignment in the first place. So I'm not judging. I'm not trying to say I know the answers or anything like that with this. I'm just saying it's something to think about. Are the assignments that we are giving students to do, if they can be completed by an AI, maybe we should be rethinking how we do those or how we can think about using those assignments while using AI. I know the parallel has been brought up before many times with math, and when calculators first started becoming really common, math teachers being able to rethink the way that they were doing assignments with calculators as a helpful tool as opposed to an evil thing, right? Okay. As we look at this the spectrum here of a student created versus our bot created things, we start looking through the different levels of this and start thinking through, which of these, at what point do you consider this cheating? But also thinking through, well, which of these things would you use in your everyday life? Which of these things would our students need to know how to use in their everyday life? And where does that actual mark of cheating begin and end? And again, just something to think about, not trying to give an answer one way or the other, just a thought-provoking question, right? Finally, we get into this other side as we talk about EdTech and our different frameworks we use in EdTech. PickRat, which is the one that I've liked the most. To me, it makes the most sense. And we saw with Canvas, when we integrated Canvas a lot, there was a lot of replacement going on, and passive replacement at that. It was, I'm going to take this worksheet I have and turn it into a PDF and put it on Canvas, and students are going to do it on Canvas instead of sitting down at a desk, which is very passive and just replacing instead of actually using the technology to make improvements. We want to make sure we're not falling into the same trap with School AI. We don't want it just to replace something. We want it to actually amplify and transform the educational experience. And we want it to make sure that students become more interactive and more creative in what they're doing. And so if we can use School AI in that way, and as we think, oh, I want to try this and I want this to do this, and then think through, is this amplifying? Is this transforming? Is this being more interactive, more creative? Those are kind of the thought process as you're looking at exploring and using School AI in your classroom that I hope you follow and kind of work with on there. Okay, let's move on to the actual tools. So like I kind of said before, it's going to be impossible to explain all the ins and outs in a training like this. A lot of it has to be with your exploration and you learning the skills to talk to the AI to get it to do what you want it to do. And most of that comes through experience and practice and tweaking and all that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to kind of show you some ideas today, walk through some of the things you can start playing with, and hopefully, again, like I said, get those creative juices flowing, and you might be able to find some fun things to do with your students. So we're going to start with the various teacher tools. Let's go to actual SchoolAI. When you go to SchoolAI, you can log in. You log in with your school account. If you haven't logged into there before, you just use your school ASD Gmail to log in, and then you'll be brought to this launch pad or this dashboard. And when you're in this dashboard, you'll have up here on the top, you'll see here's your different options. We're going to start looking at tools, then we'll look at the assistants, and then finally we'll look at the spaces. So the tools are mostly for, I'm going to say basically they're for teachers. These are your teacher tools to help you save time in your classroom. And so as you look through these different tools, you can kind of see we've got lesson plans, rubrics, quizzes, worksheets, jokes. Then we come down to other things like IEPs and syllabus and all kinds of stuff. I'm just going to point out a few of these, kind of show how some of these can work and some maybe a few tips here that you can use to get the most out of it. And then, again, you can feel free to explore on your own anytime. The nice thing with SchoolAI is the menu for creating any of these things is basically the same on each of the tools. And so once you've learned how to do it for one thing, it's very similar to the next one. And so there's not a huge learning curve from one tool to the next. So that makes it really nice and easy to look at. Okay, so we're going to look at lesson plan first. I've got some already created. Let's come back here. This generate button is how you would create a new one. And so if you wanted to create something new, you would click generate. To me, it's a little backwards. I would think you would give it inputs and then click generate. Here you click generate first, then give it inputs, and then generate again. That's kind of how it works. But let's click on some that I've already done. And so I'm going to open this lesson plan, the SchoolAI Introduction presentation. That's what we're talking about here. And this is what it gives you. It gives you an editable document, much like a Google Doc, that has the different steps that has determined you should take based on the input you gave it, and even complete with learning outcomes and all kinds of great stuff. So that's nice, and you can go in, you can edit it. In fact, you should edit it. Anything you put into SchoolAI and it pops out, you should still review. It even gives those warnings on here when you create something. You should review, proofread, edit. Don't just assume it's great to go. Some help with that. Well, let's look at this. Over here on the right side, you'll see prompt. And this is what I typed in to create this lesson plan. So you can see it's going to ask for a topic. It's going to ask for a grade level. It's going to ask for the details. And the more detailed you can be here, the better, including like length of time, age of students, student abilities, all these kind of things it takes into account when it creates that lesson plan. If you want to include a rubric, you can copy and paste that rubric in there too, and it'll kind of follow that for you. And like if I was going to make changes here, I could click regenerate and it would regenerate. If you wanted to share this with other people, you can share the prompt. It'll copy a link. You can send that link to whoever, and it'll pop up the prompt in that person's SchoolAI so they can use it too. So it makes it very easy for sharing. Okay, let's look at a couple of the tools and tips. One of the nice things here is if we create a space, you can see in gray, it has the / key. If you, oops, wrong button. If you hit that, it opens up this menu, and it has some fun things like the AI image is kind of cool. You can tell AI to build an image based on this lesson plan. I'm not going to do it right now because it takes a little bit of time for it to generate, and don't have time for that. But you can also organize a bunch of things from it that way. You can also click on this add button, and it gives you this same menu. But that's the shortcut, is the /. If you notice in this lesson plan, if you've happened to read this first paragraph, I've made it overly complicated on purpose. And so if you find something you're like, I just don't like how that's worded, you can highlight that section so you don't have to restart all the way over. You don't have to come into the regenerate, and you can just pick and choose some things you want help with. If you come up to AI tools after that, you've got this menu. So from translating, making all emojis, changing the tone, which is nice. making it shorter, longer, all this kind of things. Or if you click custom prompt, you can do any of those things in the custom prompt. That's what I tend to use, is I just come to the custom prompt and I'll say, make this at a 8th grade reading level. And it's going to change it. I click insert. So now my overly complicated paragraph has been simplified, just that section, because the rest looked good. And so that's some tips and tricks of using the lesson plan and making sure you're going in and adjusting it and editing it as necessary. Okay, and again, like I said, this is a quick overview of stuff. Try to get as much as we can in the time that we have. Let's come to our tools again. This time, I'm going to look at a worksheet. And so again, I'm just going to open one I've already created for the sake of time. And so on this worksheet, as we see the prompt over here again, it looks very similar to the lesson plan. I gave it a grade level 8th. All I gave it for the subject and details was The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Nothing else. When I did that, it created this worksheet. So you can notice it's different than the lesson plan in that it actually has questions for students to answer. Multiple choice. I didn't tell it to do these different types. It just did multiple choice, some short answers, some critical thinking, some reflection. And then it gave some teacher notes to think about as you get to this lesson. What I didn't realize is, you know what? I actually didn't want this just to be about the short story. I wanted this to be about the movie and the short story. And so in that case, I could come here, I could add, make this a compare or contrast between the two different things, and then regenerate it, and I would get a different worksheet. So I've already done that. Let me come into that. And so when I did regeneration, it came back here. And now we're saying, as you read through this, it's now looking at the characters versus the short story versus the film, plot analysis, all these kind of things. Again, I didn't give it a ton of details. What I'd really, if I was going to actually use this, I would spend a lot of time here in this prompt. As you can see, I just said, have it compare the short story to the film. I would actually add a lot of details. Do I want just multiple choice? Do I want just short answer? Do I want a mixture? Do I want all these kind of things? The more details you have, the better result you're going to get. Okay, let's come back to tools again. Another one that is really nice is this text leveler. I'm going to open that one up. So on this text leveler, this is the original. I've just pasted it here at the bottom so we could see it in this presentation. This comes from a dissertation, the introduction to a dissertation. So kind of a high level. I put it in the text leveler and I said, I want this 4th grade. And so now it's simplified it for 4th grade text. So the text leveler is a great feature. If you have something, especially for differentiation, or I used to teach some Edgar Allan Poe classes in my 8th grade English class, and some of those Poe texts were above and beyond what they could understand. I would have loved this to kind of give them like a side-by-side, like here's the original text, here's our simplified text, and help them be able to read through and understand. I know that's an example that I would have used this for in the classroom. So text leveling, it's a great tool. Another quick tool we'll look at that a lot of people have been interested in is the text translator. If you go to generate, you copy and paste the text in there, what language you want it, and then it'll generate the translation for you. And you can give that to students or use it for communication home or anything like that. Okay. Those are just a few of the tools. Like you said, there's a ton here to help you out. But those are all things to help you save space and time. And let's talk our next section, which is going to be assistants. Again, assistants are going to be for you as a teacher. And these are basically ChatGPT. And so this is what it is. It's ran by ChatGPT, the 4.0 apparently, supposedly. And they have all these different ones. Like I said, there's 9 different ones here. They're all basically the same. And so you don't need to, with one exception I'll show you in a minute, but you can choose, I just choose the co-teacher every time because it does the exact same thing if I chose digital literacy coach as if I chose co-teacher. It doesn't really change anything. I asked the SchoolAI people and they told me, yes, It's all the same. So that's great because you can use it for whatever you want. Maybe they'll change them in the future, but maybe not. The nice thing about this ChatGPT version is it only takes sources that are educational. So it doesn't go the entire world of information. It focuses on educational information and knowledge only. So when you ask it questions, it's going to have that educational context and not just every context. So that's what's a nice reason to use this instead of just going to ChatGPT. Plus, since we have DPA signed with SchoolAI, our information is secure. And so you can use things like data. You can input data in here to help it analyze data and not worry about that going out. Where if you were trying to do that on ChatGPT, that's not really a safe practice with our students' data. So that's what's nice. Okay, I'm just going to show you some examples. The other nice thing is it saves your chat. So if you forgot about it, you could always go back. And like I said, I'm going to go back to this chat that I had with it. So yes, I said, I want to know what this sentence means. I'm not quite sure what it's saying. Well, it told me what it is. Then I asked who said it, and it said there wasn't a source. Anyways, just like ChatGPT, nothing different there. I do want to show you this essay grading assistant, however, because there is a special feature in here. If you click on the grading assistant, right here it pops up the new essay grader. This is the game changer. As you can see, you can batch upload and grade 30 essays. You get student feedback or AI feedback for students. I haven't played a lot with this yet. We were shown to it. It's in beta mode, as you can see, but there's a lot of promise here for helping you get a lot of grading done a lot quicker. And so that's something I would play with and explore as start using it and seeing how it works. Again, with beta mode, some things might not work perfectly, but eventually it'll get there. And that's going to be an assistant I think a lot of people will end up using a lot. Okay, with our time, let's go to Spaces. So Spaces is your student part of SchoolAI. This is where students are going to be interacting with the AI in your class. So you click on Spaces, there's a drop down, and you'll notice it says Discover, Create, and Sessions. Discover is, we were told at most recent, over 10,000 pre-created spaces that you can use in your classroom. Create means you can go in and create whatever you want, and your sessions, you go in and manage your student sessions. So when we click on Discover, you're given another dashboard to look at. And if you see up here, I've already input some standards. I'm looking at my Utah core standards, 8th grade, my English language arts, and you can even get a specific strand if we're looking at that. And then things can be tailored towards that specific standard, which is nice. As we scroll down, here's kind of the 4 main spaces that you can use. The sidekick space is basically what it says. It's a sidekick for your students to use to interact with, to talk with, and it helps them through that. You have a bell ringer and an exit ticket, so you can do those before and after class. It works very similar to a sidekick, but it's made specifically for those time periods. And this Video Explorer, which is really cool. Last I was clicking on it earlier today, it wasn't working fully yet. They had a little notice saying, be aware, but you can input a YouTube video, and as long as that video is not a block video, you can have SchoolAI ask the students questions as they're watching the video. So something like in a Nearpod or like Canvas Studio, except for the AI asks the questions for you. You don't have to create them, to kind of keep students engaged in the video. I think it's a really cool feature. It's something definitely worth playing with. You can have your subject tutors, and so they work just like the sidekick really, but they've kind of already been created to be specific for that subject. And you have these different collections. You have other teachers' collections down here, and you have these people who are their creators and all that kind of stuff. So you can kind of search through those to kind of see what things you can find. A couple of ideas. Let me click on the sidekick, and this is what it looks like. You're going to tell the sidekick what you want it to do. And then you can preview it to see, make sure it's working the way you want it to work. And then you would go ahead and launch Space. When you launch the Space, it'll give you a code, like a QR code, or it'll give you a direct link. And you can just put that in Canvas, and students can log into it and go ahead and get to work. And so I'm going to go ahead and go to my Spaces here and show you a little bit I guess, some ideas. So I've used the space to do persuasive essay grading, and the prompt, hopefully this one is a complete one. So here's what I said the code. You can click on this use space code. There's a copy link. They can also do the QR code, or they can just go to, I think it's join.schoolai.com and enter that code, and that'll get them there. So there's 3 ways to get into it. Okay, so I've entered my name. I'm in this translation tutor. And so this is one I created. This is an idea of how to use these spaces. Teachers have put it in their Canvas course and said, if you need translation, use this tutor. And so I've set this up. I basically said, don't give it any answers to students, just translate the information they put into the chat. And so the SchoolAI is pretty good about actually following those instructions. It won't give them answers. So if there's a question you're asking, they just need it translated. The SchoolAI won't give them the answer. It'll just translate it. And so we can see here, it's asking, what's your native language? And so if I say Spanish, we can see the SchoolAI will now ask me a question about how to help me in Spanish. And so the student can speak, they can type in Spanish, it'll answer in Spanish. They can copy and paste the information from a worksheet or something else in here. SchoolAI will give them the translation. So it's a translation tool that can be used. Another example of it being used is just a general, like the English tutor, set up to help them through an essay. Again, it didn't tell them how to write the essay, but it said have them keep thinking deeper and asking them questions based off of this rubric. And so that's what the tutor does. The student types something in and says, oh, that's a great idea. Have you thought about these 3 things? What would you say to those 3 things? And so over the course of time, it helps them build their essay for them to be able to write it and then submit it. And so it's more of a tool to help them, where if you were a teacher, you've got 35, 40 kids sitting in a classroom and you have to try to help each student get to that point. It's difficult. With the SchoolAI, it gets them to a further point before they need your intervention. And so that's another way for it to help save tools, or save time, not tools, save time. So that's kind of the quick overview of what I had. And I wanted to make sure we had a few minutes here to answer questions. I don't have a ton of information about it. It's all new for everybody, really, but I can do my best if you have questions. Okay. Thanks for coming again. Again, if you have questions about any of this or trying to work with it, or you want my help, I'm happy to help you out, happy to come into your classroom, help you talk through it, whatever. So yeah, just let me know.